on. Congratulations, you made it.
Who's there here?
No way. Well, not anymore. We're gonna get out later. So this place used to be something, but first and foremost, this is where I start withholding information for all the communication devices. I'm not going to give you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did with the big red barn. You're going to get the answers from your spirit box. So let's go through the brief history. This space
Around the hall.
What is it?
Around the hall.
So if something lights up, it is a person?
So whenever something lights up, you have to remember that is a depth perception camera. So what it's doing is it's going to pick up trees and signs and cars and all that other stuff because it's looking for things with LiDAR technology, which is depth perception.
Okay.
So whenever I find something in there that's in the shape of a person, I take a screenshot of it.
Okay.
Because I take it from YouTube, screenshot it, and I lighten the picture to make sure it's not a sign, a tree, car, something along the lines. If there's nothing behind it, it's an obvious anomaly.
Okay.
Good questions. Like a YouTuber out here. I love it.
Okay.
Again, I want to see if we can get the same type of readings out of the tri-field as well. And again, we're going to explore the space. We're basically going to make about 2 rounds. We're going to bounce around the facility, kind of see. This is the space I was looking to retire. I was getting those hecklers and jerk stomachs. Even if you just want to find a corner, the only exit for vehicles is where we came in. Just kind of keep that in mind. Make sure it's an exit. It's a long way in and out. But yeah, spread out and keep the issue behind. Go do this. Let's get to work.
Oh, I see a person. Cameron, you don't show up.
I don't?
No, Nicole did. Alicia did. You don't show up. So we no.
Well, I don't show up on that.
But that's so funny.
think I got all the other ones.
Revolution.
Yeah.
I just got John.
So that's what I call bleed over. So we're still close enough to Big John's, and that's 783 that you heard earlier. I'm gonna guess that something is relevant to Big John in that way. I can't think of anything relevant to his birthday, his death date, the day that the Big John's Tavern opened. Like,
Gosh, I totally forgot that was his name too. That's insane.
is it? That's why you're here.
That's so cool.
That's why you guys keep me around.
So we have to unscramble these, so that would be Charles.
So you have a CHL, right? Did you get the RLE?
LSKJN.
You did? Just now?
Yes. I kind of lost it. It's because we need the ARE to make Charles. Interesting. I'm not going to count anything yet or get too excited until we have that ARE mixed in there.
50.
Q.
So I want you to also keep in mind that this guy will also do other things. I just don't like all the features, but I'm going to show you what they are. So the next one is going to be, something comes up, yes, no, which obviously I hate. And then it's going to go into numbers, but it doesn't save them to the bottom like the letters, so hopefully they fix that. And then every colonial ghost knows what an emoji is.
Stop.
I hate that. Like, that was so dumb. Why do you even put that in there? Sorry if I'm touching you, by the way. So, not super convinced on the CHLS yet. I want more. The R really
So
makes Charles.
once another letter goes here, will it cycle back through?
It will cycle back through, but you have to reset it to get a clean slate. Because all it's going to do is overwrite.
Yeah, okay.
What was the last thing you just heard?
Oh, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
A number? A number?
Oh, 50.
Oh, 50, sorry. Well, it was 50,000. It was like 50.
So that's perfect. Whenever you get numbers like 50,000, it doesn't make sense to the space. The number 50 is in the word 50,000. So that's kind of how I look at those things. But that 783, like I'm looking at dates, like is there July of 83 or something along those lines? You see where I'm going with that? Like I look at everything in a different light. But that 50 is very interesting. Any readings coming out of yours at all? What do you got?
So he'll adjust yours some to...
Oh, that's
Okay.
just a sign.
Here by that white one, and then I got
Sure.
a 5 in the corner, and then I think I got like 18 under that tree,
Nice.
but obviously on this side, and then over by that car I got a 41.
Wow. All right, that's a perfect segue. So I would say stop your cameras because I think you guys are getting.
Other tours usually come through here. This is the dueling alley. They would walk to the end and
Like next week is Jan full. That's when it starts spring break.
oh, the jasmine is blooming already.
Yes, I have one bloom.
How's
One-
our word list
one
coming?
flower.
What do we got going on there? Anything?
I have Peter. I know. I have Peter and then Catch.
Peter Pumpkin.
Catch Peter, they've thrown baseball.
By the way, that George Washington bit that I gave earlier, I heard you guys talking about it more, and I forgot to tell you, like, there's a reason
think
why.
so.
That's the only question that I give you guys back, even though I was giving you all the other answers, is because when we got to that space, I told you guys I'm not going to give you questions like, what color is George Washington's white horse? Subliminally putting George Washington in the back of all your brains, waiting to see who's going to give it back to me, and you couldn't. That's a good thing. You passed with a fail. So that's what I look for. I don't want somebody that's just going to repeat everything that I'm giving you. So, where are we? For those locals, you already know we're in Philadelphia Alley, but this used to be called Duelers Alley. So this is where some of the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. So, by the way, whenever tours come through here, because they will cut through like that ivy wall, or they'll be coming from this end, we'll just kind of split the C's, or we'll all kind of group into this little corner over here and let them pass, because they're going to go a lot further. But anyway.
It was a mouse
Bridge.
or a rat.
Yeah, we've been getting some rats down here, unfortunately.
Bridge.
We have a radio station called The Bridge. It shows up all the time, so I'm going to throw that one away too. I think we got a cat coming too.
Hopefully he's going to go get the rat.
We got a lot of cats around this area because of the circular
Right.
church.
Another round.
Because of the what?
The circular
The circular church actually has a lot of cats. They say they chase the devils away out of the cemetery, kind of thing.
It's a very free-spirited church.
Yes. That's the cat hidden house.
That was not not a mouse.
That is.
That is
it's
the
size of
rat?
the yeah.
That's a rat.
Yeah, it's the size of the cat.
Ew, that's disgusting. It's so big.
He'll climb the walls. He won't bug us.
He's up in the tree.
Yeah,
He won't bug us. But anyway, the duels. We all come down here, tell the same story. Again, different details for me. Here's how it goes. Go ahead and mute that, because we can all hear.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're good.
I can't really hear it very well, so I like have
Have to crank it. There's a doctor that moves down here to Charleston and from Rhode Island. His name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. By the way, if she hears or we get Brown-Eyed Girl on the radio stations, it's not coincidence. It happens all the time down here because it's part of his name. But anyway, he moves down here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. So she has an attorney helping her out with all of this cash that she's got. The attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after Amanda's money, so he tells Amanda, get rid of the doctor. Dr. Ladd moves to Charleston to prove that he's not after her money. He's going to start his practice down here. And as he's coming into town, the coachman set him up to be robbed and killed. So it's not a very good start to his stay in Charleston. By the way, I do want the Ouija on, and then your baseline is going to be between 5 to 7 because of the lampposts. We do
Okay.
get a little bit of little surge from those. So yeah, you might want to just scale it back a little bit. But anyway, back to the coach. As the doctor's coming into town, somebody was walking by.
Wait, 5 on this, the red one.
On
Yeah,
5 on the
okay.
red one. Somebody was walking by and seeing what was about to happen, how the doctor was about to get robbed and killed. His name is Ralph Isaacs. So I want you to keep in mind he has the same initials as where the doctor came from, which is exactly why I bought the Ouija board device. We were getting the letters R.I. all the time on a regular spirit box. I wanted to see if we can get it on something a little bit more specific, like letters only, and we have, just so you know, and several times. However, R.I. is goes to 2 different characters, kind of like the name, Charles before. We need secondary clues. But anyway, Ralph tells the doctor, dude, you don't want to stay here. I know this guy's going to try to kill you. Come with me to 59 Church Street, and you can rent a room from them. He took him up on the offer. They became friends. Now, the longer the doctor stays here in Charleston, the more money he's making. He's proving his point that he's not after Amanda's cash. So Amanda gets wind of this, and she's moving down so they can get married. Dr. Ladd became known as the Whistling Doctor. I love how you guys are all looking around for rats. I think it's hysterical. I know. But they're not going to bother us, trust me. If anything, they're going to go right across the wall. They won't come near us.
They won't jump on you.
Yeah. So, the Whistling Doctor. Every haunted city you're ever going to visit in the future has a cliched whistling ghost. I'm going to just put it out there. We all have one. However, there is proof of this one, and I'm going to get to that. Ralph and the doctor go see plays together. They can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. He gets better seats. That's just the way the hierarchy works. So they're walking home one day after seeing Richard III, and they're arguing over the new actress. Dr. Ladd thought she was great. Ralph didn't. The argument turns into insults on the doctor's fiancée from Ralph. So it gets very ugly, and they go their separate ways. I told you Ralph has friends here. He goes to his friends at the newspaper, and by the way, I'm trying to rush this so we can get away from the rats. And again, this isn't a place where we're going to spread out anyway. I'm going to explain. But anyway, the newspaper that he puts an ad in basically tells the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Kind of a disgrace to society kind of mentality. The doctor saw the ad, rebutted with, let's go to Dueler's Alley. We're going to settle this. So they come down, they took their 10 paces, they turned. The doctor pointed his gun in the air, and he shot his one shot. He didn't want to kill his friend.
Like Hamilton.
Right, exactly. It's often what happens. You just point your gun in the air and say, I'm game. He's going to go back in the ivy. He'll be fine. Either that or go find his friend across the way. Anyway, Ralph has his one bullet. He puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. So he didn't die either. He drops to the ground. His friends picked him up, took him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later. Now, it's always the same day, but the version of the story says 4 days, some say 10 days. But he also refused medical treatment. You should remember that he is a doctor. He probably tried to bleed out the bullet wound himself. Different bullet wounds in 1786 than what we have today. So the date is always the same as when he died, November 2nd of 1786. So you've heard the number 70 along the way here. I will tell you that part of that is part of his birthday, but it has to come up in another form. So I'll explain more if it comes up again. Now, we're not going to spread out here because I'm just here to stir shit up and not the mice. So we can
They are really stirred up.
They are. So we can actually go over to the next space and get the bleed over. However, the bleed over of the next space, again, I'm going to tell you why we're going there here. I've been kicked out of this alley, just so you know. I would normally take my groups all the way through when I first started doing this, because this alley didn't always go all the way through. It was cut off about halfway. That's because this is where they kept the livestock, not the rats. But anyway, those bricks on that side are older than the bricks on this side. So those are sun-dried bricks from slave children. So there's a full handprint from a slave child down there, and everybody used to stop with the equipment waiting for something to happen. A kid's not staring at that brick in the afterlife. I treat it the same way I do a grave. However, November 26th of 2020, my entire group of 10 is huddled around that brick, waiting. I'm trying to shoo them along because it's also outside the kitchen of the beautiful mansion at the end of the alley. I'm just trying to be respectful, not knowing I was out of bounds. So again, new at this 4 years ago. So it was kind of a, all right, the new owner came out screaming. My daughter thought it was great because Dad's getting yelled at. She was on the tour that night, and we moved on. The next day was Thanksgiving. I don't tour Thanksgiving because I worked in retail management, mainly for Walmart. You adults can feel my pain. However, the next day, and these dates are relevant, the 28th, I actually talked to my partner at the time, and I told him what happened. He said, you can only go down halfway, or you got to reroute. So I decided that night I'm going to reroute, but I told my team I don't believe in the next story. I've never had anything happen there, and I'm a vampire guy, not a pirate person. So we're going to talk about pirates and see what we can get out of it. Before we left, somebody heard the name Anne on a spirit box. I didn't tell them who we were going to be investigating. The famous female pirate Anne Bonny. So I went, shit. We get down there, somebody else heard the number 300. I don't know what that means. I write it down, research it the next day. We were there on November 28th of 2020, Anne Bonny's trial for piracy, November 28th of 1720, the exact 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial.
Wow.
So I went, damn it, now I gotta learn about pirates. So the interesting thing about pirates is that it's based off of lore. So it's very hard to get a hold of captain logs and those kind of things, but I will tell you that half my library now is based on pirates. So everything we're gonna be discussing at the next location came out of a minimum of 2 resources. So kind of keep that in mind. Master's degree in creative writing, I can piece it together. So I will tell you when things are like a little hairy about like the numbers and skewed, but it is also a hit or miss location. It may not be as active as what we had at the Pinckney Mansion site. Anne is said to be seen all over town, but we do get bleed over from this location. So again, we're going to be directly across the street. We just kind of have to go around. I can't take you through the gate. But that's why I can't take you all the way through, because we're not allowed to go down there. So I haven't been going down there ever since, and I've been researching pirates ever since 2020. So again, all of the books, movies, documentaries, video games, and all the shit I have to learn. Again, yes, I said video games because yes, I'll play a game with pirates in it just to get a different version of the story. So, have you heard anything? I know I told you to mute it.
No.
Okay. Any other words showing up on your word list? I know I'm trying to get us away from the rats. Anything else
No, nothing that's
that you think is relevant? Remember, I'm withholding
ongoing, push, reality,
Derive.
drive, method, heater, catch.
Peter's interesting. I don't know who the hell that is. All right, let's learn about crazy pirates. For those who keep that in mind, and then I'll explain the pirate story. Worst case scenario, you're gonna learn a lot of shit about pirates you didn't know before. And then hopefully we capture a few things while we're there. All right, let's go learn about Anne Bonny. Let's do this.
Telescope.
Okay.
Telescope.
Telescope.
Ooh. What's that called? A telescope, though. What's it called? An eyeglass.
I would think eyeglass would be a little bit more relevant than telescope.
Eyeglass.
Depending on which form it is.
Hotel California.
Hotel California. Remember, weird states that aren't from here. And then I collect those. That's interesting.
I collect those.
That's what she heard. That's very weird. Like, that's a weird phrasing.
Literature?
The California thing is interesting. Somewhat relevant. I'm actually going to move this a little bit further back and let me move
They're just transfer tonight.
Again, the other stores love to cut through here to go to the church. I stopped going up to the church because it's always too busy up there for me. Again, they have large groups of 20. If you weren't aware, like, we're allowed to take 20 people. Like, I just won't do it. The bag's heavy enough. Not to mention, nobody wants to follow one guy on a ghost hunt. Like, this is a perfect size. 5 to 10 people. Anyway, we're going to be discussing that little tiny building over there with the crosses on it. Those aren't crosses, by the way. If you're not from here, those are earthquake bolts. If you're unfamiliar with earthquake bolts, they're basically turnbuckles. They say you can turn them after an earthquake, and it's supposed to tighten up the building so it doesn't incur any further damage. That's the purpose of an earthquake bolt. Now,
Same as the squares in
right,
there?
exactly. So we still put them in because it's part of our crazy Charleston charm. They look like pineapples and lion heads and all kinds of shit. Now the crazy thing about earthquake bolts, they don't actually work. So the reason I bring this up is because that set on that little tiny building, that's the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston ever put in. The reason why is because that's the oldest government building in South Carolina. It was finished in 1713. We're, what's that? Powder magazine, right. So we're here because this is what I call a familiar. You guys all watch the TV shows where they use a teddy bear to attract a child ghost? It's the same principle. This building was being constructed at the same time that Anne Bonny came here to start a new life. So let's get into it. Young lady, by the way, you're gonna have to follow me on this one. There's a lot of twists because it is pirates, and it's a female badass pirate to boot. So, 1708. By the way, that building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government at all? Yeah, from 1703 to 1713. But 1708, a young lady moves here from Ireland. Her name is Anne Cormac. She comes here with her father and his mistress. The mistress is her mother. Are you with me so far? Okay, the three of them are running away from her father's angry wife. How pissed was she that they got to leave the country by boat to come here? They land in Georgetown. That's just north of here, for those of you not from here. Dad bought a plantation, but Mom died pretty quickly. So that means he has to send young Anne down here to sell anything from the plantation to keep things afloat, hence the familiar building. Again, Anne is said to be seen all over town, because we don't have any buildings around this era. But anyway, take a step backwards to Ireland. They say Anne was a badass even back then. When Anne was 7, 8, 9 years old, remember it's pirate lore, every version is different, they say she killed a servant with a knife to the belly. We have had the terms servant, knife, and belly all in the same evening. So, fast forward, 1713 is the building's done. By 1715, pirates are coming through Charlestown, and Anne is pretty stoked. Why? She's going to fall in love so she can earn her freedom, just like a man. It's a man's world. The first guy she falls in love with, yes, I said first because there's a handful, and we're going to go through every single one of them. First guy is James Bonny. You already see where this one's going, right? Because you know her pirate name. Dad didn't approve, they ran away to Jamaica, got married, and Cormac is now Anne Bonny, famous female pirate. However, James Bonny is not Captain Jack Sparrow, like what she was hoping for. This guy turns out to be a privateer. He's a spy for the British. This is not who she wanted. He's a coward. So she falls in love again. Guy number 2, John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. This is the guy they based your Johnny Depp character off of, if you're unfamiliar. So, this is the guy she wants. He has his own crew and a ship, and she wants to be part of the crew. You can't put a girl on a pirate ship. Does anybody know why? Keep it family friendly. It's bad luck. So I get a lot of different answers to that, but it's also like make sure you guys are, yeah. So, but anyway, he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and look like the crew, you can be part of the crew. But you're going to be a female in my quarters. She's okay with this because Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy back home in Ireland to hide her away from his wife. So she gets it. Let's do this. But while adults here, let's put 2 and 2 together. So she's a female in his quarters. She's eventually going to get pregnant. You can't have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a girl. So then they're going to vote Jack off the ship. So he drops her off in Cuba. Have the baby, come back later, we'll figure it out. She goes and has a baby, but returns with no baby. Very sad, but I can't find any of the research that'll tell me what happened to the child. But she comes back dressed as a female. This makes Jack pretty pissed off, because now everybody's going to know he let a girl on a ship. And while she was away giving birth, he captured another pirate crew that's down below deck, and Anne's going to go flirting, because that's who Anne is. So, guy number 3. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female, dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack captured. So now we have 2 females on the same ship trying to be pirates. Her name is Mary Read. I already mentioned her name earlier tonight. So, she went by Mark Read to become a pirate, so either name has come up in the past. So, her and Mary became friends, possibly lovers, we don't really know for sure. But the British found out where they are. They send a whole fleet of ships to take down one pirate ship. Anne and Mary rumor that they were the only 2 pirates that weren't drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet flintlocks, probably because they didn't know how to use the cannon yet. They weren't pirates for very long. Obviously, 2 ladies with flintlocks are not going to take on a whole fleet of ships. They get arrested. And as they're being arrested, she's looking at her Captain Beau, Calico Jack, and says, "I'm sorry to see you here, but if you would have fought like a man, you wouldn't have to be hanged like a dog." The word dog comes up a lot. We've even had people report dogs barking on a spirit box as we enter the space. So kind of keep that in mind. The judge wants to see the 2 quote-unquote men that fought back so valiantly.
Sorry, that's probably not relevant.
No. So the 2 men, Calico Jack and the drunk pirates, were already tried and hung, so they're dead and gone. The 2 ladies go in front, reveal their gender, hoping to save themselves. The judge doesn't give a shit. They're still pirates. He's still going to hang them. "We plead our bellies," was the last thing they shouted at him, because you cannot hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal.
So they're both pregnant.
Right, allegedly. So he sends them both back to jail, delays the hanging. Dad is still up here in South Carolina with all of his Irish money. He was an attorney back home. So he bails her out, brings her back home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4. We don't know who the actual husband is, and we are going to count Mary Reed as a lover. So, with that said, she had 4 kids and dies at the age of 80. Again, we don't know much about her after her pirate career because it is, basically a big rumor. Some say she stayed here, others say she went to Virginia. Mary Reed died a year later in that Jamaican jail from whatever pirates died from in a Jamaican jail. Use your imaginations. Most books will tell you that it was, something simple.
98.
Yes. That was the year Anne was born. 1698. Allegedly. Okay. I was looking at her death at first and I was like, nah. But the year of her birth makes sense. So I'm going to write down 98. The only 2 questions I left out of here, by the way, for Spirit Box work, because you guys know what the hell you're doing by now. By the way, this is also not a prominent English woman. Know your ghost. We can poke the bear a little bit here. She's a pirate. But I left out the name of her parents. That's the father and the mistress. I do know them, but I left them out purposely so he has something to work with. I also left out the name of Calico Jack's ship. So I left that out purposely, again, so he had something to work with. Anything else, like again, the baby question, I can't prove it. If you get answers, I can't prove that they're actually valid. Anything else you want to ask about her hair color, you want to ask what her father's name was, what city she came from, anything of those that I can actually prove, go for it. Again, I have enough books to be able to debunk or prove a lot of things. But yeah, 98 is definitely a relevant number. She's giving me a lot of numbers tonight, and I don't know if that's what she's searching for, but you just got to let things happen. So again, you're going to hear weird things like the I collect those. That's an interesting piece. I don't know what the hell that means. I'm hoping that something else is going to be on the word list that I just
There's a
missed.
whole lot of words coming through right
Give them to us. What do you got?
Deal, they all just came through. Deal, flood, wave, McKenna, and tap.
So I get like ocean terms showing up here. Like,
Yeah.
that makes sense. I've seen that here in the past.
Eliza.
Eliza?
Do you want to know why that's relevant here? Again, there's like 15 stories around this corner. So Charles,
Which
the
one?
husband,
Okay.
is buried across the street,
Okay.
as is the first wife, Eliza Lamb. So at times, he will either give us a lot of clues about Eliza Lucas, like blue, dye, all of the things relevant around her, or Eliza herself, the first one, will be coming through. Again, there's a lot of things that go on in this story. That's why I pay attention. We also have a vice president buried on the other side of this wall, and it is March. We're getting close to his birthday.
Are we at the circular church?
No, Circular Church is one block that way, but
Okay.
John Calhoun is buried on the western end
Okay.
of St. Philip's. So Charles Pinckney is actually buried on the eastern side. Only native Charlestonians can be buried on that side. That's why John Calhoun is over here. So they actually moved him. I'm sure you guys knew this from other tours. They actually moved his sarcophagus several times, trying to figure out where the hell he was supposed to go.
Right,
He's not
like
from
back
here.
and forth and back and forth, right? Yeah.
They say, and the joke is that he crossed, Church Street more times in death than he did in life. So again, every ghost tour tells that story. It's another reason why I don't go over there, because nobody's talking about Anne Bonny anymore at this location, and I keep getting more and more clues around here. So the Eliza piece is somewhat relevant. I'm going to put a question mark on it so I can focus on your recording to see if I find something else. But it's just weird that you're getting wave and flood. If I had sail, like I would be a little bit more convinced. If I had, there's other Blackbeard things around here. I mean, we were talking pirates, around this corner. Here comes another tour, so kind of keep that in mind when we are filming. The interesting thing about where you've got that camera pointed, unfortunately, there's a truck parked right in front of it. I get a lot of psychics on this tour. And I've had 3 psychics so far tell me in the past, I'll say 2 years, the same description of a soldier standing right next to the powder magazine, wearing blue pants and a white shirt. So that's another reason why I got that SLS camera, the stick figure, so we can kind of see if we actually have something going on or not. But yeah, we're going to definitely spend a little bit of time in here. So again, keep your cameras running. You guys have been doing really good about starting and stopping. I've been paying attention. Any other letters showing up over there?
T.
Just T.
Now these aren't really making much sense.
Yeah. That didn't even give us a letter.
No.
It made the noise, but no letter. Interesting. As far as yours, Nicole, I would expect readings back here I'd be excited about, but the closer you get up there, we have 2 electrical poles, computers on the other side. I might get that 3-7. If you get the 3-7 right here, I can move it.
Can't tell if it's a tree or a stick figure. It was just popping up and now it's gone.
Oh my gosh.
There's no legs. I can't tell if I'm just like making it up, but the closer I stand right there, the weirder I feel.
Are you serious?
Yeah, just like take some steps forward.
Can I get a picture? Cool.
Get anything over here? You see something?
I can't tell if it was a tree or a stick figure over here.
I just got no, and I just got chills. Oh.
Did you feel weird over there?
I got no. Just no. Not really.
No. Yeah, I don't really see anything over here, but
Hate.
What is it? Hate?
Again, he said there was just.
hello, my love. Oh no, I am on a ghost adventure downtown right now with the sisters. It's not just a ghost tour. We have devices and we're testing EVPs and we have a camera and Kaylee's connecting to the sounds and all the things. Oh, okay. Bye.
Try to clean this up.
Whatever was there is fine.
I know, right?
Yeah. Well, at least it's recorded. It's recording, right?
Yeah.
Just keep in mind, those trees are going to give you a lot of false anomalies.
Are we staying here for a second?
Oh, yeah, it is. It's the same thing.
The tree. I just wanted to get this place.
Face myself, put it down.
7, right?
Lindsay, I got a new phone.
I heard. Finally.
What bird is that?
It's a bat.
Right to your front door.
Alright, Kaylee, I need you to have a seat, and who's going to stay with her? Because we're going to have to separate a little bit. Oh, are you going to stay? Or?
I'll stay with you.
Okay. Alright, so I'm going to actually give you the noise canceling headphones and the blindfold over here, the disposable eyewaxes, those two. I don't want them back. So if I look at both, you kind of gives
The marking.
Yeah, is Ann following us over here?
So am I just putting on this and then
Yeah, and we won't do any of that until we come back over. I just want to kind of give you a feel, so you have a feel for it. But with these, like they literally, there's a little bit of pressure to them because they're brand new. So they've only been used a handful of times, and they do sanitize them, just so you know. Sanitize everything twice a day. But again, but when she gets them, I wanted to kind of feel how they move, so that way she can come over right in. So I'm gonna set those down as well. These folks over to this bust, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. So you guys sit here and chill. All right, you guys, come on over this way. It actually works out really well when I have a group this size. So, in a nutshell, this is a new space for me. I don't know everything about the guy we're going to be investigating, which is the fun part. The SLS camera has given us probably the most out of this location. Really? Yeah, like lots of fun stuff. I'll explain. But first time I came here, I just had a couple. I'm like, you're going to experiment because I change this up every year. So we came in, look around. There's a million monuments. We didn't know what we were going to find. 1828 was something specific that came through a spirit box that they heard, and I caught it, basically verified it, and then the name Henry, and then the name Tim showed up. So I was like, okay, this is Henry Timrod, born in 1828. That's who this bust is of. He is a writer. So let's go through his very brief history of what I know. So obviously, being a writer, being born in 1828, he's old enough to fight in the Civil War. He wants to go fight for the Confederates. So he goes out to war, but his friends realize he's too sick to fight. He was sick through most of his life. So they sent him home, and they said, go be the voice of the war. So go write about what's going on here in the battlefield. So he comes home, starts writing poetry, and gets a job with the newspaper. So a few years after he comes home, well, by the way, he became known as the Laureate of the Confederacy. For us writers, like that's a prestigious title to have. He has a son. What we're going to find out for Kaylee is the name of the son, when he was born, and how long he lived, which his name was Willie, and he was born on Christmas Eve, and he only lived for 9 months. So he died on October 23rd. As Henry's mourning, a few years go by, and his buddy realizes he's not writing as much as he used to. So he calls him up, basically by letter, and says, why don't you come out to my cottage, and you can continue writing out here, and finish up what you're supposed to be doing. So he leaves the wife behind, her name was Katie, by the way, with her parents, and he goes out to the cottage. He writes his last words. His last words were, beholder of brief mortality. It translates to person of short life. And then he coughs, and it lands on the page in a blood stain. The blood stain, he had tuberculosis, by the way, in case you didn't catch up on that. The blood stain looks like a man writing over his desk. Now, they call this the blood book. They show it one day a year at the Charleston Library Society on Halloween only.
That's cool.
You have to be a member of the society to be able to see it, but the internet is beautiful. I'm going to show you what the blood book looks like, and then we're going to go get to work with Kaylee over it. So, Henry is a very shy, timid guy. He's pretty short. He has a very distinctive mustache as well. So I might be trying to get out of him what he would look like. So, what is it?
Like, literally.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so you can see the blood stain looks like. And to me, as a writer, beholder of brief mortality, he coughs and he dies right on the page, and that's what we get. Like, that's kind of creepy to end up with. So he was only 38 years old when he passed away.
38.
So 38 is a specific number as well. Now, let's go over to Kaylee, and I'll kind of explain this a little bit further before we kind of get this party started, because I do time it of how much time she's under.
Okay.
Again, this can be a little much for people that haven't done it before. So.
You getting anything?
Are you getting anything?
Not really.
The headphones are not.
No. And I almost like
Oh.
walked her.
All right, take the blindfold off for me for a second. We're going to explain this a little bit further. All right, so in a sense, we're going to be doing a sensory deprivation. We are going to huddle in pretty close.
3.
You're going to stay seated. You're going to be a little disoriented. Your vision's going to have to get used to the lighting again. That whole 9 yards. Now, I also want you to keep in mind, we can hear you. Whisper. You don't need to shout because of that kind of mentality. Most people immediately want to shout because they can't hear themselves. Just whisper. We got you. I'm going to be asking you questions as if you were the person we're trying to talk to. I'm not gonna, you're not Kaylee to me once you put this stuff on. So kind of keep that in mind. So you don't know the history either. So when these three go a little bit like, oh my God, you're gonna realize it's a big deal. I'll give you the history after you come to and get you out of this. So again, when I hand these to you, all you gotta do is pull them apart, and when you go over, you pull down.
I missed that part.
It's okay. Everybody does.
Put the earbuds in? Yeah.
I'm trying to hide the fact that we're blindfolding a child.
It's okay. She doesn't look like a child.
You're good. It's okay. Let's just say I don't have a lot of friends in this industry. So when people are walking by and like, oh shit, what's he got him doing now?
Look, just give it to me. Just give it to me so I can put it in.
Is it
Give it
homeless?
to me.
We normally have a homeless guy. He's normally sleeping on the lawn.
What does it say?
It says homeless, and he said there's usually a homeless guy here sleeping.
Okay, so again, I'm going to be watching
I
you
need the
watch.
volume. This is it, right?
It's 10:56. I don't normally look at time except for when we're doing this. So we're going to keep her under for about 10 minutes unless, of course, things get a little too much. So we're going to give her a few minutes, or at least a minute to get acclimated. The person we're addressing, Nicole, just so you know, his name is Henry. So I'm going to refer to Kaylee as Henry. She's got her breathing right. Good. Look at her. She's like a pro. Okay, Henry. It's time to start asking questions like what I normally do. So why don't you told me one word earlier about what your job was. So what is your job? What did you do for a living? Henry.
So just when she hears anything, she's gonna shout it.
And again, you have to look at the situation too. Like right now, she isn't saying anything. And I've had double blind sessions where I've had two people under at the same time, and it's like they have a conversation. It's crazy. Maybe she doesn't know she's supposed to tell us what she hears. That's happened in the past. Go ahead and tap her out for me.
What?
Did you know you're supposed to tell us what you hear?
What?
You're supposed to tell us what you hear.
I know, I'm listening.
Okay.
I can't
Okay.
hear anything.
And that's happened before. People don't realize like they're supposed to tell
Yeah.
us. They just listen. And they're sitting there. I'm like, you gotta tell us what's going on. Henry.
6.
I also won't take notes during this, so it'll all be on your audio. What is the number 6, Henry? What does that mean?
Don't do it.
Don't do what? We want to talk to you, Henry. There's not many people in here tonight. What do you have?
Trigger.
My head.
What's wrong with your head? You haven't told us about head pain before. You've told us about chest pains. Why did you have chest pains?
Are you ready for it?
I am ready. I'm waiting for you to tell me again. Tell us about your chest pain. Why did you have it? Can you tell us what you're hearing right now? Remember I told you guys about the bell dongs? Normally we're here at the same time as this. And I've gotten where somebody's heard bells and this person said bells.
Life.
What about life? What did you hear just a minute ago? What came out of the church? What do you hear?
Bell. A bell just rung.
Now I just got the chills.
Is she okay?
Is anybody counting the bells?
No.
6, 7, 8. Tell us what you did for your job, Henry.
Thank you.
I didn't read any of your poetry today. Normally I'll read a
Word.
stanza. Tell me one of the words from your poem Charleston. What's the last line? Give us a word from the last line. That last line is the triumph or the tomb, if anybody was wondering. Triumph and tomb have both shown up here in the past.
Listen to our body don't stop.
What kind of sickness did you have? Let's change gears a little bit. Tell us about the sickness you had. Maybe you want to tell us the name of your college friend where you went to his cottage.
Around.
What was the name of your college friend? He was also a writer.
Victory.
It's been under for 5 minutes, just so everyone knows.
Girl.
You didn't have a girl, you had a son. Do you want to tell us your son's name? What is heart beating? It's getting loud.
Heart. Truck.
What was your son's name?
Stairs. Eyes. Body.
Body several times. Do you have anything coming up on the...
Aaron.
Notice how her talking stopped when we started conversing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, just a weird thing that I notice about their surroundings.
Like if he wants to talk to us, he wants us to be paying attention.
If I'm gonna read.
That's a good one. What are you going to read? Read us your poem, Charleston.
Biggest. All my friends want.
What was your friend's name?
0.
What was your friend's name? It wasn't Frank, in case you were wondering. Paul.
Legal. Victoria.
You got a lot of research to do.
These I don't write down, but like Victoria will stand out. Obviously the name Frank I'm going to look into.
I can't stay.
Where can you go? We're not going to stay long either. We're going to stay about another minute.
I can't.
Give us one more message. Really prove that you're here. Give us something specific about you.
Music.
It's weird that she's answering back and forth. Something specific about you, Henry. What are you known for? All right, Henry. I'm going to tap her out in 3. Before we get ready to tap her out. Get ready to tap her out when I say 1. 3, 2, 1.
Help
What?
her.
You can come out now.
Okay.
She was under about 9 minutes. Lots to do. You know, a lot of people can't get the gist of the spirit box from just the basic. They call it the blood book. So we do get somebody. When I did that double blind, them 2 guys sitting here didn't know the story. One of the first things they popped out with was tuberculosis. It's kind of like, oh shit, okay, we got something. So that was an interesting night. All right.
But you were saying like hurt and body and
Yeah, you said body a couple times. Again, I don't know who that Victoria is. Timna. I have had 12-year-old girls sitting here in that same position, and they came out just fine. That's why when I asked her how old she was, back with the Powder magazine, and she and I talked about this, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I want to do that. Blindfold me up." Well, it's not always great when I tell the mom, "I'm going to blindfold your kid," and we're going to see what
That was
happens.
great.
She is guilty.
But like I wasn't like saying like super.
She is guilty. 3 words.
I normally get a he is guilty. But that's a lot of things wrapped around an bonus. It's very weird. So I would say if you want to take a quick lap around here to kind of get some footage, by all means do so. But after that, like I'll let you guys kind of wander around and see what else you guys are getting, and then we'll wrap up over here. So yeah, get your blood moving. Yeah. I know you're not cold.
Bear.
Bear. Like reading a book, knees up, arms up, like the whole 9 yards.
That's
And his
cool.
one leg kept moving around. It was very interesting. And then I caught a figure over by that post. That was last week.
I just got 5'9".
Yeah. So, damn it. I'll explain that one when everybody gets over here because that one is definitely
5'9", like
Five.
a height.
No, that is an address that we already talked about.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
That's a lamppost, though.
Hang on. Let me write down this 5. It's not going anywhere. Yeah, so what it's doing is it's picking up this tree in the background
Okay. And the lamppost next
and
to
the
it.
lamppost next to it, and then it's seeing the little branches up here. So
Okay.
it's always going to attempt to try to make a figure. Like that's what
Okay.
it's always going to attempt to do. I set the sensitivity, like I've been playing with it back and forth, and I think we got it at a pretty good one where I can debunk a lot of things at one time.
I got Rose.
Everything, it was the fact that I had the SLS and too many cameras and not enough spirit boxes. Again, the combination I use every night is different. I never know because I need to know who's here. So if that makes more sense. But at this point, I am going to stop your audio because that kind of gives me a gist of how much time. So I don't time this 2 hours and